The First Interstellar War began not with a declaration or an invasion, but with a simple miscommunication. Humanity's fragile coalition of nations had just achieved faster-than-light travel when they encountered the Var, a species that communicated primarily through electromagnetic pulses. The human greeting, a radio broadcast of peace and friendship, was interpreted as a territorial challenge. James Walker, head of Earth's Unified Defense Initiative, had anticipated such a scenario. Long before the first contact, he had quietly assembled a team of engineers, physicists, and military strategists to prepare for the worst. "They won't understand our intentions," he had warned the World Council in 2138, "but they will understand our resolve." While politicians debated and civilians panicked, Walker's team worked tirelessly in underground facilities scattered across Earth. Their mission: to transform humanity's fledgling space capabilities into a defensive force capable of deterring an advanced alien civilization. Dr. Lisa Reed, a quantum physicist from the American Midwest, led the weapons division. Her breakthrough in particle acceleration allowed for the development of the first viable energy weapons. Tom Davis, a former naval engineer, designed spacecraft hulls that could withstand impacts at relativistic speeds. When the Var attacked the lunar colony in 2142, killing 300 settlers, humanity's response shocked the aggressors. What the Var expected to be an easy conquest turned into their first military defeat in a millennium. Walker stood in the command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, watching tactical displays as human ships, cobbled together from commercial vessels retrofitted with Reed's weapons, successfully repelled the attack. "This is just the beginning," he told his team as they celebrated their first victory. "We've shown them we can fight. Now we need to show them we can win." The early victories came at great cost. Thousands died defending Earth's orbital stations. The Pacific Defense Platform was lost with all hands. But the sacrifice bought something precious: time. Time for the engineers to refine their designs, for the factories to increase production, for humanity to transform itself from a peaceful spacefaring species into a formidable war machine. By 2145, human ingenuity had produced marvels unimaginable just years before. Orbital shipyards constructed vessels designed specifically for combat. Training academies prepared pilots to operate in the vacuum of space. And deep within secure facilities, researchers like Reed continued pushing the boundaries of weapons technology. The Var, accustomed to easy conquests of less advanced civilizations, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to surrender, an enemy that learned, adapted, and improved with alarming speed. Walker, watching Earth's first purpose-built battle fleet launch from the lunar shipyards, allowed himself a moment of pride. "They thought we would be easy prey," he remarked to his aide. "They're about to learn how dangerous cornered humans can be." By 2150, humanity's war machine had evolved from desperate improvisation to methodical industrial might. The Var attacks had unified Earth's nations like nothing before, with former adversaries now working together against a common threat. Robert Miller, once a commercial shipbuilder, now oversaw the largest manufacturing operation in human history. The Armstrong orbital shipyards stretched 20 kilometers across Earth's upper atmosphere, a complex of automated factories, assembly bays, and research facilities. "Every ship we launch is better than the last," Miller explained to the visiting delegates from the World Council. "We're not just building vessels, we're building an industrial base that can sustain an interstellar conflict." The ships themselves were marvels of human ingenuity. The Defender-class cruisers incorporated technology reverse-engineered from captured Var vessels. The smaller Hunter-class attackers utilized adaptive tactical systems developed by Dr. Alan White, a military AI specialist who had unlocked the secrets of autonomous combat operations. Below the surface of Mars, the Johnson Underground Complex housed the Advanced Weapons Division. Here, Dr. Reed continued her work, developing the revolutionary phase shift drive that would eventually allow human ships to outmaneuver their alien counterparts. The Var still believe their technological advantage is insurmountable, Reed told her team after another successful test. That assumption is their greatest weakness. On Earth, academies trained pilots, tacticians, and engineers. The Global Defense Academy in Tanzania produced officers skilled in space warfare tactics. The Technical Institute of New Shanghai specialized in starship engineering and maintenance. Children who once dreamed of peaceful exploration now studied weapons systems and combat maneuvers. Walker, now aging but still at the helm of humanity's defense, established the Strategic Planning Division. Here, analysts like Maria Torres developed long-term strategies for pushing the conflict beyond Earth's immediate neighborhood. We can't just defend, Torres argued in a pivotal strategy meeting. As long as we stay near Earth, we're fighting on their terms. We need to take the war to their territory. The statement was bold. Humanity had yet to establish colonies beyond the solar system, but it reflected a growing confidence. 5 years of desperate defense had transformed into determined expansion. In orbital habitats, civilians contributed to the war effort. Manufacturing plants operated continuously, producing components for the ever-growing fleet. Research teams analyzed captured VAR technology, seeking exploitable weaknesses. By 2155, the first human offensive operation succeeded in destroying a VAR forward base in the Kuiper Belt. The victory was modest but symbolic. Humanity was no longer merely surviving. It was beginning to push back. As the Miller-Reed drive became standard on all new vessels, humanity's range extended. Scout ships ventured beyond the solar system, mapping routes and identifying potential targets. Military planners began drafting ambitious operations to strike at VAR supply lines. Walker, reviewing the latest production figures, allowed himself a rare moment of optimism. "We're no longer building just to survive," he told the World Council. "We're building to win." The first human interstellar battle fleet departed Neptune's orbit in 2160, 18 years after the initial VAR attack. Designated Task Force Alpha, it comprised 40 vessels ranging from the massive dreadnought Resilience to agile patrol craft. Their mission: disrupt VAR supply lines in the Proxima Centauri system. Commander Jack Wilson stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching as the last ships moved into formation. At 43, he had spent half his life fighting the VAR, beginning as a pilot in the desperate early battles and rising through the ranks as humanity expanded its military capabilities. "All vessels report ready, Commander," his executive officer reported. Wilson nodded. "Signal the fleet. Execute jump on my mark." When the fleet emerged near Proxima Centauri 4 days later, a journey that would have taken years before the Miller-Reed drive, they encountered a VAR supply depot exactly where intelligence had predicted. The ensuing battle demonstrated how far humanity had come. Human ships executed complex maneuvers with precision. Weapon systems performed beyond expectations. When the VAR launched their counterattack, they found themselves facing an enemy far more sophisticated than the primitive beings they had first encountered. The battle lasted 14 hours. When it ended, the supply depot was destroyed. 3 VAR warships were disabled, and the human fleet had suffered minimal casualties. Task Force Alpha returned to Sol victorious, bringing with them captured VAR technology and valuable intelligence. Back on Earth, Dr. Reed examined the captured systems. "They're still technically superior," she concluded in her report to the Strategic Command. "But the gap is closing. More importantly, they're fighting according to established patterns. They haven't adapted to our tactics." This insight proved crucial as humanity expanded its operations. Under Torres's strategic direction, human fleets avoided direct confrontation with superior VAR forces, instead targeting infrastructure and supply networks. The approach frustrated the VAR, who were accustomed to enemies that either surrendered quickly or fought conventional battles. By 2165, humanity had established forward bases in 3 nearby star systems. The Beta Hydri station became the headquarters for deep space operations, while research outposts in the Tau Ceti system developed new technologies tailored to the specific challenges of interstellar warfare. Walker, now in his 70s but still leading Earth's defense initiatives, visited Beta Hadri to inaugurate the new command center. Looking at the holographic display showing human and VAR territories, he remarked to Wilson, "When this started, we were fighting for our survival. Now we're fighting for our future among the stars." The statement reflected humanity's evolving perspective. What began as a desperate defensive action had transformed into a determined push outward. Military necessity had accelerated technological development and space colonization by centuries. As human outposts spread across nearby systems, the war machine that supported them became increasingly sophisticated. Autonomous manufacturing stations converted asteroid material into ship components. Quantum communication networks coordinated military operations across vast distances. Training facilities in distant outposts prepared the next generation of space combat specialists. The VAR, facing unexpected resistance, intensified their efforts, but found themselves confronting an enemy that grew more capable with each engagement. By 2175, the nature of the conflict had fundamentally changed. What began as a desperate fight for survival had evolved into a complex interstellar struggle, with both sides controlling multiple star systems and fielding increasingly sophisticated technologies. Admiral Wilson, now commanding the combined fleet from the massive space station Bastion in the Epsilon Eridani system, reviewed the latest strategic reports with his staff. Holographic displays showed human territory extending through 7 star systems, with outposts in 5 more. They pulled back from the Ta City front, noted Strategic Officer Emma Clark, highlighting movement patterns of VAR forces. They seemed to be consolidating around their core worlds. This development confirmed what human intelligence had suggested. After 3 decades of conflict, the VAR were reassessing their approach to the unexpectedly resilient humans. On Earth, a new generation had grown up knowing only a society organized around interstellar war. Universities focused on disciplines relevant to the conflict. Manufacturing centers produced increasingly advanced components for the fleet. Research facilities pushed the boundaries of physics, biology, and computer science in search of advantages against the alien enemy. Dr. Peter Lewis, who had succeeded Reed as head of the Advanced Technologies Division, presented his latest findings to the World Council. "We've successfully replicated the VAR gravity manipulation technology," he explained, displaying simulations of the new system. "The applications extend beyond weapons. This could revolutionize our approach to colonization." This pattern, military necessity driving innovations that enabled further expansion, had defined humanity's development for decades. Technologies originally designed for war found peaceful applications as humans settled new worlds. The colony on Epsilon Prime, established initially as a forward military base, had grown into a thriving community of 50,000. Its hydroponic farms produced food for the fleet, while its manufacturing facilities specialized in precision components impossible to produce in variable gravity environments. Mark Thompson, governor of Epsilon Prime, addressed the colony's 5th anniversary celebration. "Our ancestors came here because they had to, because Earth's survival depended on establishing a presence in this system. We remain because we found something worth building, a future among the stars that extends beyond the current conflict." His words reflected a growing sentiment across human space. The war machine had carried humanity to the stars, but people were beginning to envision a future defined by more than military necessity. Admiral Wilson recognized this shift. In a private communication to Earth's leadership, he wrote, "The VAR initiated this conflict, but they no longer control its direction. Humanity has transcended its original defensive posture. We are now a genuine interstellar civilization, with interests and aspirations that extend far beyond the original parameters of this war." The observation proved prescient. When VAR representatives requested a diplomatic meeting in 2177, the first peaceful contact since the conflict began, they encountered a humanity dramatically transformed from the pre-contact civilization they had initially dismissed. The human delegation, led by Dr. Torres, arrived aboard the diplomatic vessel Concordia. The ship itself embodied humanity's evolution, built in the orbital shipyards of Taw City, powered by technology that had been theoretical when the war began, crewed by individuals born on distant worlds. As preliminary discussions began in neutral space, humanity stood at a crossroads. The war machine had served its purpose, carrying humans beyond their home system and forging them into a power capable of standing against an advanced alien civilization. The question now was whether they could transition from a civilization defined by conflict to one defined by peaceful coexistence and exploration. The Armistice of Procyon, signed in 2180, formally ended the war between humanity and the Var. The terms reflected not a decisive victory for either side, but a mutual recognition that continued conflict served neither species' interests. Dr. Torres, who had led the human diplomatic team through 3 years of negotiations, stood before the World Council to present the final agreement. "This document represents more than peace," she explained to the assembled leaders. "It represents recognition that humanity has earned its place among the stars." The terms established clear boundaries between human and Var territory, with buffer zones to be jointly monitored. Trade protocols were established, allowing for limited exchange of non-military technologies. Perhaps most significantly, both species agreed to share information about other intelligent life they encountered, an acknowledgement that the galaxy was likely home to many civilizations. As the immediate threat receded, humanity faced the challenge of repurposing its vast war machine. The shipyards that had produced battlecruisers now constructed exploration vessels and colony ships. Research facilities previously focused on weapons development turned their attention to environmental engineering and sustainable expansion. Admiral Wilson, retiring after 4 decades of service, addressed the graduating class at the Interstellar Academy. "The ships you'll command are no longer primarily instruments of war," he told the cadets. "They are vehicles of discovery, bridges between worlds, guarantors of human security in a complex cosmos." The transformation wasn't always smooth. Military installations had formed the backbone of human presence in many systems. Communities that had grown around these bases needed to develop new economic foundations. Veterans trained for combat had to find new purposes. Yet the same adaptability that had allowed humanity to survive the war facilitated this transition. By 2190, human territory encompassed 12 fully established colonies across 9 star systems, with outposts and research stations in many more. Robert Miller, Jr., who had inherited his father's position overseeing what was now called the Interstellar Development Corporation, led the effort to adapt military production capabilities to civilian needs. "We're applying the lessons of the war: distributed manufacturing, redundant systems, rapid adaptation, to build sustainable human societies across multiple worlds," he explained in an interview. On New Terra, the largest colony with a population approaching 1 million, Governor Thompson unveiled plans for the system's first university not focused on military applications. The Galileo Institute will train the scientists, artists, and thinkers who will shape humanity's next chapter, he announced at the groundbreaking ceremony. As human society reoriented itself toward peaceful expansion, contact with other intelligent species increased. The diplomatic corps evolved from the intelligence services that had analyzed VAR communications, developed protocols for first contact scenarios. In 2195, humanity encountered the Nari, a pre-spaceflight civilization in a nearby system. Rather than repeating the miscommunication that had triggered the VAR conflict, human representatives established careful, limited contact guided by lessons learned during the war and peace process. Dr. Lewis, addressing a conference on interspecies relations, observed, "Our war machine taught us how to survive in a hostile universe. The greater challenge, and perhaps our true legacy, will be demonstrating how to thrive through cooperation rather than conflict." As the first generation born after the war reached adulthood, humanity's perspective continued to evolve. The war remained a pivotal chapter in human history, the catalyst that had propelled Earth's children to the stars. But it no longer defined humanity's self-perception or aspirations. The massive defense platforms constructed during the conflict were repurposed as space habitats and research stations. Military outposts became waypoints for civilian traders and explorers. The communication network developed for coordinating fleet actions now carried scientific data, personal messages, and cultural exchanges between increasingly diverse human settlements. By the bicentennial of first contact, humanity had become a genuine interstellar civilization, diverse, resilient, and increasingly focused on exploration rather than expansion. In the century following the armistice of Procyon, humanity's transformation accelerated. What began as military colonies evolved into distinct societies, each adapted to their local environments while maintaining connections to the broader human sphere. By 2280, 37 permanent human settlements existed across 17 star systems. The largest, like New Terra and the Epsilon Eridani Collective, had populations in the millions with cultures and governance systems that reflected both their Earth heritage and unique development paths. David Walker, great-grandson of the man who had organized Earth's initial defense, served as coordinator of the Interstellar Council, not a governing body, but a forum where representatives from human worlds addressed shared challenges and opportunities. Our ancestors built a war machine out of necessity, Walker remarked at the Council's centennial gathering. We are building something more complex and more enduring. A sustainable human presence across multiple star systems, diverse yet connected, independent yet interdependent. This evolution was evident in the repurposing of military infrastructure. The massive shipyards orbiting Earth now produced primarily civilian vessels, colony ships, research platforms, and commercial transports. Only a fraction of their capacity maintained the Guardian fleet, the downsized but technologically advanced force that secured human space.